How are you, Nancy?
I'm good. How are you?
I am well, thank you.
Well, we're being recorded, so.
Yep. I'm doing well.
Mind what you say, Julie.
Who's that chuckling? Just town hall.
Oh, Paul. It sounded like Paul.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Let me get my act together here.
There's this picture of Tony, but that didn't sound like a Tony laugh. It just took me a minute to figure it out.
So let's see. What have I got myself on here? I don't know what I'm doing. Hold on. That's not what it should be doing. Now let's see what we got here.
So this is Lynn. Has the meeting started?
No,
What's going on?
we're just
Yeah.
talking and trying to get Paul on.
Okay.
Yeah, I was on, and now I've lost myself. Let's
And
see if
I
I
have-
can figure this out.
And Julie and Tony, I have left my little script for the disclaimer about public meetings at home. And I'm at my office. Can one of you read that? Do one of you have that handy?
I don't have it, and that's not Tony. That picture is actually where Paul is.
Paul's at town hall?
Paul's the
You see
town.
that picture?
Yeah,
What do you see?
I see Tony.
Well, that's not what you're supposed to see. Oh, dear.
Because you're the host, and the host is town hall.
Yeah, well, I don't think I am. All right, well, you should be able to see me a little bit now.
We do.
So
I like
what
the
do you
image on the
see? Do you
screen a
see,
lot.
That's nice.
What is it?
Big vault.
Right, but I mean, is it
Where is
something
it?
in Nahant?
No, it's not. Uh-huh.
this? Oh, do you see the pool
Oh,
and the
there's
arches?
right.
Oh, you do? Oh, you don't see? I thought you told me you saw town hall.
Well,
Now, I know we
saw-
have,
It said town hall, and there was a picture of Tony,
Yes, that's
but then it
exactly.
disappeared.
Then it disappeared.
and you showed up.
I was trying to show the minutes. And
They
I
were
think
up
I'm gonna,
for
I think
a
I'm gonna
minute.
prove that I'm inept at this. Well, somebody's come on with quite a fanfare.
Yeah, that was me.
That you did?
Yep.
Okay.
Are you seeing are you seeing the text of the minutes?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I can make them a little bigger. I've got to do one more thing to make it really useful. Let's see. How's that?
That's good.
Okay, so has anyone had a chance to read these? The advantage of having Kristen, who does a wonderful job with this, transcribe them, is that I don't have to try to remember exactly what everybody said. But the disadvantage is that there's a lot more text. So
Yeah,
there's more-
it doesn't seem to have gotten synthesized it's like a transcript of. the
It's more like a transcript, yeah. So I don't know what we want to do about that right now.
I want to have a
But-
conversation with her about how we
Yeah,
actually.
maybe she and I can talk about it, or do you want to do that, Lynn?
That would be great because you are the
Sure.
clerk. That's
Yeah,
splendid.
I'd be delighted to talk to her about it. And
Yeah.
I'm sure we can come to something out of this. In the meantime, maybe what I will try to do is pare this down. And shall we put off, excuse me, shall we put off reviewing and accepting it contingently? What do you think?
That would make sense to me.
Okay,
Okay, but
All
at
right.
this point, I'd like to actually call the meeting to order.
yes, please go ahead.
Let's do that. And so we'll make ourselves formal and then go through that little process again. So I'm Lynn Spencer and I am chairman of the Community Preservation Committee. And this is the beginning of our meeting on January 10th at 7:01 p.m. I am without my handy little guide about Zoom meetings, but I will simply say what I can recall. It's by the governor's order that we are actually meeting remotely. This meeting has been posted for broad community participation. We welcome members of the community to our meeting, and at appropriate times, we'll be looking for commentary and questions either in the chat mechanism or in the hands up. The meeting is being recorded, and we should get started with a roll call as to who is here tonight. So I see below me, Nancy.
Nancy Quintelmo.
Okay, and can you just identify what committee you represent on this board?
Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee.
Okay. Paul?
Paul Spurn at large.
Dave?
Dave Wilson, Housing Authority.
Good. Next, as a committee member, I see Austin.
Hello, Lynn. Yes, Austin Antrim at large.
Okay. Who else is on the roster tonight? Let me see if I can get my.
Ellen Goldberg.
Ellen
And
here?
Ellen Steves.
Is
I
Ellen here?
I don't see either.
Right, that's what I'm asking. Who else is in the room? Representing, I don't think I see anyone else from our committee. I do see other attendees. So Julie Tarmy.
Yep, Julie Tarmy. I'm here as a liaison from the Finance and Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Very good. I've got other members of the community. I see Michelle Capano and somebody called Clean Production. Not sure what that is, but okay.
That's me. That's Ellen.
Oh, it is Ellen. Oh, great.
Excellent.
Ellen Goldberg. Sorry, I joined with my work account. I apologize.
Well, we're very glad to have you here. I also want to recognize Richard Smith, who we've invited here tonight to speak about the library community preservation project. I had spoken with Tony earlier this afternoon. Tony, are you here? No. All right. Well, let's move on. So what's in front of us on the screen are the minutes from the previous meeting. And Paul, do you want to just give us a sort of précis on what we're looking at here?
Yeah, this is a pretty close to verbatim transcript of the discussions that we had. And I think we've decided, I don't know if we have to move, probably don't have to move formally, that I will revise these further and resubmit them, maybe electronically in a more condensed form, and we can discuss any additions or changes the next time we get together and formally approve them.
That seems logical to me. Can I hear a motion from the committee?
So this is Nancy Cantelmo. I would move to accept Paul's suggestion that this transcript be organized more in a minutes-like form
Mhm.
and submitted to the committee.
Okay, do I have a second for that?
Yes, Austin Antrim, I'll second that.
Right, so I'll have to do a roll call on this. Nancy, all in favor?
Aye, Nancy.
Paul Spurn,
Aye.
Dave Wilson,
Aye.
Austin,
Aye.
Ellen Goldberg,
Hi.
Lynn Spencer, aye. Thank you, Paul.
Sure.
So tonight's meeting is kind of if you will, a mid-cycle meeting where we have grant applications for the coming round due at the end of the month on the 28th. But we also have the opportunity to hear progress on the other articles that have been previously approved at town meeting. And to that end, I'd like to I had invited Tony to speak on this, but we're fortunate to have Richard Smith be able to join us for a few minutes tonight. And I'd like to give him the opportunity as the architect for the town hall, for the public library and town hall projects, to just give us a brief update as to the status on those two projects. Richard?
Yeah, I think I see Tony appearing.
Oh, do? No.
Yeah, hold on.
There he is.
Is it Tony?
Yep, hi.
Oh, good, fine. You are right at the right moment, because I'm just sort of moving us to the public library and town hall project.
Okay. And Richard Smith is on the
I am.
call? Okay.
Would you be kind enough to give us a status on this project?
Sure. So we opened bids this morning. We opened sub bids in December. The RFP went out early December, I believe. And essentially the bid docs, the RFP was set up in a way to prioritize the library, but also try to utilize or try to attract, low prices from contractors that are capable of doing similar work that is needed on the library and the town hall. So for instance, the base bid of this project is primarily the stonework on the library, specifically around the windows, that has been deteriorating and causing water damage to the windowsills, the wooden windowsills themselves, and in some interior water issues. And that was identified in the envelope work that was part of the original rewind. For some of the members that are, I'm sorry, let me just real quick, for some of the members on the board that may not recall, a couple years ago, the library came in for a pretty large borrowing to do envelope work. And the priority was the terrace out front. And essentially the cost of the terrace ended up taking up the entire budget of that original borrowing. So last year, this CPC borrowing for $500,000, the library had come in, applied for CPC funds to try to accomplish the leftover work that couldn't be accomplished in the previous job because all of those funds went to the terrace. Meanwhile, the town hall came in for envelope work on the town hall, and we also came in for stone masonry work for Green Lawn Cemetery. Through the process of this committee, we combined all three applications and authorize $500,000 borrowing for essentially all three tasks. So when we put the RFP together, we talked about, the library really being the priority, given that, they were kind of already coming in for additional work that wasn't accomplished because of the budget. But that a lot of the work happening at the library is similar to the work that is needed at the town hall. So the base amount of the bid that we opened today was for that stonework, envelope work on the library. And then there's 4 alternates that go beyond just the stonework into roofing, into gutter work, cupola on the town hall, and repointing of the chimney on the town hall. So today's bid that we opened up, the bid amount for the base bid, the lowest bid came in at 436. Is that 436, Richard, or 431?
436,000.
436,000. Now we have 500,000 through the borrowing authorized at last town meeting, and then I believe $50,000 through Mass Historical Commission.
That's correct. Yeah.
So a total of 550. Alternate 1. So start with 436. Alternate 1, the low bidder has $9,000 on it. And alternate 1, Richard, is
Well, alternate 1 is rather than, the base price, we were rebuilding and patching the eroded stone around the window on the west side of the library. Alternate 1 cuts out the eroded stone and replaces it with new stone.
Mhm.
So that's the 9,000.
okay. And then alternate 2 came in at 40,000, which is the gutter work. Is that
Well,
correct?
it's along the east and west sides of the building. There's a there was a sheet metal wash at the bottom of the roof pitch, and then directly below that a gutter. And the wash actually covers up a once built-in gutter that's been covered over and replaced with the exterior gutter that's there now. But that metal work seems to be deteriorating. There's been a persistent leak in the women's room, and we're proposing that flashing should be replaced, and it will.
So that's town hall.
That's on town.
Alternate 2 is town hall.
Yep.
So
Whereas
that-
whereas the base bid plus alternate 1 is library stonework, essentially.
Yeah. Yep. That's right.
Alternate 3 for the low bidder came in at $176,000. That's the cupola. And alternate 4, which came in at $20,000, is repointing of the town hall chimney. So between the MHC grant of 50,000 and there may be unspent, I want to double check. There may be unspent CPC dollars for town hall envelope work. I got to double check that, see how much there is, because I know we cleaned up a lot of that stuff a couple years ago or last year. We might be able to accomplish, based on this bid, if we were to award Greenwood the contract, we may be able to accomplish under the current budget and maybe some leftover funds from previously approved CPC money, at least the base bid and alternate 2. But certainly alternate 3 and 4 out of reach under the current budget. And lastly, Lynn, I know you're jump in here, but, and then lastly, nothing in here includes Green Lawn Cemetery.
Right, thank you, thank you. That's what I wanted to make sure everyone understood. So this is a problem. I mean, I feel fortunate that Richard was able to send me about a half an hour ago the bid docs and the bid form, but I think we've got some thinking to do here because clearly there are outstanding. This is a fairly complicated menu of options, and I appreciate that. But I think we actually need to be able to look at this carefully and understand what this means about the potential award of this current contract and what the remaining needs.
Can somebody refresh my memory about what the scope of the Green Lawn work is and how much ballpark it could cost?
It was for the entry arch, which is actually where people pass under it.
Yep.
In their way into the cemetery. And I think it was coming in around $80,000, $90,000 worth of estimated masonry based on that study which is now 5 or 6 years old.
Are there any
Richard,
other large pieces that are left out, Tony?
yeah,
The rest of the wall, the rest of the Green Lawn Cemetery.
Yeah, but
wall.
we didn't fund that in our grant. We
was-
rolled that ball down the hill.
Well, it was, the language encompasses, I think, all of the Green Lawn Cemetery wall, but it wasn't reasonable to think that we were going to be able to accomplish
Right,
that.
right.
Because the whole wall was estimated around 500.
Yeah, right, exactly.
yeah,
Um, So, but especially I feel like there might be, I want to take a look, Lynn, maybe me, you and Allison can talk, but I want to look at what's unspent authorized CPC funds that would potentially, have language that could, potentially like take that unspent money and use it towards this project. I know the CPC authorized funds for cupola work in the past. So I don't know, if there's anything there, but
there's about $7,000 or $8,000 left, which
not much. But.
not much.
So, what it was really hard. It was, we had a number of meetings talking about how we were going to set up this RFP because, we wanted to try to get, economies of scale by grouping the same work together, but there was other work on the town hall that, is general construction type work, not really masonry or roofing specific, but general construction, to help with water issues, leaking and stuff that we didn't include in this bid package because the more alternatives and the more subs you start to include, you can expect the price to just balloon, So we tried to keep it to, stone roofing and some metal gutter work primarily. But, I was kind of expecting it to be based on how the terrace went and how expensive the stone work. If you go look at the stonework that needs to be done at the library, it's hard not to look at it and think it's going to be a cheap job. It's extensive work.
Right.
So can I just jump in and ask you this, because Richard and you mentioned filed sub bidders. Can you just tell us, Richard, what the filed sub bidder bidders were and who they are and what their numbers were? This would be for masonry, as I read it. And maybe painting, I don't know.
Roofing, I think, was the other subbid.
Well, your contractor is a roofer. Greenwood is a roofer.
Yeah, a lot of the people who submitted sub bids also came in on the main.
Yeah.
Richard, are you looking that up?
I think Richard's been called to confer with the Pope.
It does look quite ceremonial there, doesn't it? It's very impressive.
Another picture not in
There
the hunt.
Richard, I know
do you have the
we have to let you
sub-bid?
go because you've got a meeting coming up, but do you happen to remember or can tell us what the filed sub bidders pricings were?
It was a very mixed bag, and I need to look at the individual bids because I know, pretty sure that Greenwood and I think Homer both bid masonry restricted to themselves, but exactly who is actually going to do the work, we need to take a look at.
Right, but so in terms of DCAM certifications, does that work? Is our Greenwood and Homer both certified as historic masonry and historic roofing? And so folks, what we're talking about is the wonderful world of Chapter 149 bidding, which is a, marvelous mess. But that's to me an important question. Do they meet the qualifications?
Yeah, I had to head out for something else, so I didn't really have a chance to sit down and review the bids. I'm planning to do that tomorrow morning.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll certainly give you more time with that. We appreciate that this just happened this morning, and it's just by chance that Tony and I were talking with this afternoon, and we became aware of this. So I think, committee, the best thing is to let Richard, review the bids carefully with Tony, check the references, make sure it meets the qualifications that were set out in the bid package, which was, by the way, this is multiple pages of drawings and probably 50 or 60 pages of specifications. So there's a lot that Richard put together on this. But let's hear from you before we sort of jump to any next steps.
And our essentially, I think what you're getting to, Lynn, is like, what are our options now that we have the bids?
Yeah.
Are we comfortable with the bids? Are we potentially thinking about awarding, Greenwood or Homer? If they meet all the requirements, are we thinking about rebidding it? Are we thinking about,
All of that.
all those different options?
Right.
Tony, if we wind up with important pieces that are not getting funded in the bids we accept, are you prepared to submit supplementary proposals or proposals for supplementary funding for things that we have already committed ourselves to in terms of their substance?
That was part of why we set the RFP the way we set it up, the way we did, so that at worst case scenario, if this came in high, we would have some real numbers to come to the CPC for.
Okay.
No, it all makes sense. I think what you and Richard have done is very logical. Richard, I'm going to let you go. I promised. I know you have a 7:30 hearing to get into. Committee members, do you have anything else you'd like to say to Richard before we say goodbye and we'll see you again?
I think it's great to have somebody with such terrific expertise working for us, with us. I'm very, very pleased. But Richard, you have to tell me what your backdrop is.
Yeah.
San Carlo alle Quattro Fontano.
Oh, okay.
Borromini.
I thought it was
It's
St.
Borromini.
Peter's. I thought you were called to talk to the Pope. That's what you've done.
Well, I could always aspire.
Okay. All right. Well, Tony, we'll keep you on, but Richard, we'll say goodbye to you. Let
Okay.
you go off and do the work that you have to do to help us understand these bids. And we'll look forward to hearing more later.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Yeah. All right. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. So Tony, this is, we're in kind of the midstream of, grant preparation and so on. So part of what we wanted to do tonight was to give you the opportunity to give us, an indication of the kinds of grants that you and Town Hall are thinking about putting forward. I think we're getting a bit of a flavor of that tonight with a public library and perhaps other buildings. But I'd like to give you the floor right now to talk about what's coming up.
So thank you very much, and appreciate the opportunity to come before you all before submitting our applications formally. We have a number of different applications that we've been looking at, or different projects we've been looking at, and some we've already kind of figured out that they don't technically qualify for CPC funds, so we've kind of moved them to the side. But I can tell you that right in tune with the conversation we just had is, the first thing we looked at was what were some of the applications that we put in front of you over the last few years that we ended up, pulling back because of, balancing the budget amongst all applicants. And so I can, a reminder of some of those are, well, obviously what we just talked about is the library. So additional funds for library, town hall, cemetery, wall.
So Tony, let me just clarify that. Can you achieve the majority of the library and the town hall needs? Is it just the cemetery wall that's left out, or are there important pieces missing from the first two?
The cupola, so the cupola needs that $176,000 alternate 3. Could we wait? How soon does that need to get done? Is one question, but in that same breath, you kind of, you have a bid submitted to you as it is, so you kind of want to take advantage of that. And if we're going to award a contractor, like Greenwood, who was the lowest bid, if you don't do it as an add-all, as accepting that alt, do you maybe try and do a change order later when you have the funding? But certainly the cupola needs work. There is some water seeping in cupola. The woodwork needs to get done, and as you know, the longer you put it off, the worse it gets and the more expensive it gets. So that is definitely out of reach under the current budget based on the bids we got today. So
Okay.
I think that's something that we should come back to you for funding. Alternate 4, the 20,000, that's the repointing of the chimney. That certainly needs work. And, if we're going to have a contractor here doing masonry work anyways, it makes sense to have them, come across the street and do that job too. So that's, 176 plus 20,000, you're talking about 196. And then of course, I mentioned the cemetery wall, wasn't included, isn't included in this bid. We don't have additional funds for it. So if we wanted to do that too, you're looking at, that's $300,000 right there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
right? So what other things are you thinking about?
So we met with the Open Space Committee a few times. We talked about the Bailey's Hill, Tri-Mountain, open space areas and East Point as well. And talked about the need to, pursue, almost like sub master plans for those specific areas. So that might be something that we come in with alongside with the Open Space Committee. Where the last we left off, Nancy, you can jump in. You're part of the conversation, but the last we left off was, we might save that for next year. We might come in for it this year.
I'm sorry, I missed what that was. That's master planning for East Point and?
So the Open Space Committee was provided funding by your committee to create a master open space plan. And
Right.
through that effort, that committee is looking at a little bit more almost like maintenance plans for specific open space areas such as Bailey's Hill, Tri-Mountain, and Lodge Park, East Point. The current open space master plan process has not been completed yet. There's additional funding there awarded last year for some beautification work at Tri-Mountain. So we talked about maybe let's get those two things done first and then come in for funding for those I call them sub master plans. They're just kind of more specific to certain properties in town.
So could I just jump in here? I want to be very clear about terminology.
Yeah.
So yes, we gave $30,000 towards the comprehensive open space master plan and for Nahant. I believe the conversations that we've been having with members of the Open Space Committee on sites had to do not with maintenance plans. We don't want to use the term maintenance, but about the rehabilitation, getting on the ground with specific rehabilitation recommendations for the sites like Bailey's Hill in its entirety, as well as East Point, at least the portion of it now owned by the town of Nahant, which is the Lodge Park portion of it. But these are rehabilitation rather than maintenance directives.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you. Yeah. And we have, on top of funding for the open space master plan, there's also funding for a rehab project at Tri-Mountain. And Zach has already started doing some of the work. We had a site visit. We talked about the specifics, and we're, working to get a scope put together with our contractors so that money can get spent. But
So I want to give Nancy the opportunity to chime in here because she does represent open space and say, any sort of finesse or sort of adjustments to what you've been hearing, Nancy.
So it's a little complicated because we have the project started at Bailey's Hill, but we said we need a more comprehensive plan to work that whole area. And this group called Friends of East Point is going to submit to you their proposal from Audubon to develop a plan for Lodge Park. So it doesn't look like this year there's going to be any plan for the entirety to be worked on because nobody's been contracted to or approached to develop that plan or send us a bid for that plan.
So just remember, you're getting a budget estimate for the plan. You're not getting a bid. We have to go through the public procurement process for town-owned properties.
Okay, sorry.
So, yeah, so I know it's complicated because we want to be able to have a reasonable a solid idea of the budget that is necessary for it. But it would have to go out through public procurement. And I believe when we talked, and when I say we, I'm referring to Tony, myself, Nancy, Paula Devereaux, and who else was there?
Ellen
that-
Antrim.
And Ellen Antrim. We just met
And
on site
Zach.
and with Zach at Bailey's Hill talking about all of this. So you can come in with a solid budget estimate. You're not coming in having selected your vendor, quite honestly, or your consultant, because you're going to have to go through the town process to get that. And I think we talked about asking Vicky Masson to help guide, what that budget could be for a rehabilitation master plan. Am I misremembering that conversation?
No, I don't. I think you're pretty close. I mean, you're
Yeah.
right there. I think we kind of left it as we might try to, finish up the open space master plan,
Right.
finish the 30,000 rehab project at Tri-Mountain, and then, and then the open space plan would try to, come together and bring forward an application to CPC for those rehab project plans. And
But
I
yeah.
kind of had the understanding that that wouldn't time up all for this round this year, but it might. So, I just wanted to, I guess, give an update on some of the old, the authorized funds and how that kind of ties into what we might be coming in with.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. I mean, there was $41,000 that was given to Bailey's Hill to begin that kind of process. I do think it's important that I know that there's a volunteer group that is formed as the Friends of East Point, but as town-owned property, I think it's important that that group, their efforts be coordinated and quite honestly, under the auspices of the town hall.
That's always appreciated. So let me go through my list. This isn't in any type of priority order. I'm trying to go with, in a flow of what we've been talking about tonight, what old stuff and that sort of thing. So, you got the extra stuff for library, town hall, Green Lawn Cemetery. Open space, we've been having a lot of conversations with them and some of their, Nancy, I'm sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't mean to speak for your committee. But I recall that a lot of the responses you received from the survey work that you did was discussion about playground equipment and, missing elements for certain age groups and the need for upgrades to existing playgrounds, but new equipment. So, I was hoping to come into as an application for a sum of funds for playground equipment and ancillary equipment for existing playgrounds, and to work to basically, if that money gets funded, to spend that in consultation or, in coordination with the Open Space Master Plan Committee, the Open Space Committee. So you'll see, and what that dollar amount is, playground equipment gets really expensive. I could come in for $100 grand and that could still not be enough. But so I'm saying a sum of money right now because I'd like to, work with the committee, see how the budget looks and, based on what the other quotes for the stuff we're looking to do come in at.
Can I ask a question, Tony? How do you figure out what needs to be done to the playgrounds?
Well, it's, first of all, there's a lot of equipment out there that, needs to be replaced or with new modern equipment. You have a lot of age specific equipment that, you know, a lot of the folks that, from what I understand from you guys, is that you have, you know, whatever, one to 3-year-old equipment, and then it jumps up to like 10 to 16-year-old equipment, but there's a huge gap in between. So you basically try to find, you know, if you find a piece of equipment that meets that middle age group, and you can put one at each park. You know, it depends on space, what the code requirement is. You know, I would certainly want to sit with you guys in the recreation committee and try to figure out, you know, what's the best way to distribute those funds. But all of the playgrounds need work.
So you do have an open article, approved article for the Little Nahant playground.
Mhm.
So that's something that has been funded. I've just been around long enough that I recall that there was quite a bit of funding of playground equipment, both from CPC funding in the early years, as well as a marvelous group that was set up called Come Swing With Me, which Aaron DeGrande chaired, and they raised, you know, pretty significant matching money that really extended the investment in the playground near the public library, at the Flash Road. All that Flash Road equipment is all from that era. Now, you know, the fact that it is now how many years old, you know, maybe a factor in terms of, you know, its longevity and its repair, but it's just good for us to be reminded of that.
Yeah,
I think
some of
that was the early 2000s, I'm pretty sure.
Well, it was actually it would have been like 2005, 6, and
Yeah.
8. Yep. Yep. It's now nearly, you know, it's almost 20 years old.
Right.
And some of it is, you know, and some, I add, you know, the language I'll be a little general with on this application, or whatever if you vote in favor of it, whatever the, you know, language might go to town meeting, because, you know, some of it's even, you know, new benches alongside of the playground, or shade structures, or, you know, picnic tables, you know, things like that are part of the playground but aren't actually playground equipment, but you can buy from the same contractor. So whatever funding amount we would get, we would, you know, then probably conduct some type of process, some type of joint effort with the open space committee, with recreation, and do some sort of public process involving that.
Okay, good. Thank you.
The other, I guess, a couple older applications that we pulled off were, you know, the flagpole at the town hall, which was approved probably, you know, 5 or 6 years ago, and needs to be done again. The stage curtain in the town hall, we had that, which some kind of combines with an acoustic study that we'd like to do. We'd like to hire a contractor to come and do an acoustic study, the town hall. But we believe that the stage curtain is a key piece in that. We'd really like to come in, we'd like to come in for funding for a housing production plan. We're meeting with the housing authority. We've invited the housing authority to join the Board of Selectmen meeting next week. I've had some conversations with MAPC about, you know, getting a price for what it would cost for a consultant to help build that housing production plan for the town. For those, a little more background on that is, you know, the town does not currently meet its 40B requirements. So a developer could essentially, with a 40B project, pass right over a lot of our zoning because we don't meet that requirement. And we also have significant housing needs in town, especially for the elderly. And lastly, the state recently changed some of the zoning law for housing that has to do with auxiliary housing units. So like essentially in-law apartments. And how in-law apartments could potentially find their way to fit into the 40B requirement. That's all the type of stuff that we're looking at.
That's great.
I really don't have a price point for that. Like I said, we're still going through the process of figuring out what that would cost. All I've heard from everyone I've talked to in other communities is it just ranges really based on the community and how much public process is involved in it. Some communities, where it's a very contentious issue, it can, multiple public meetings and very detailed plans, it can get really expensive. So more to come from that. I don't really have a number to provide at this moment for that.
Okay.
We also wanted to, I know the school is talking about heritage trail funding, more specific to, I think, signage and things of that nature. I need to sit down with Kevin Andrews from the school and talk about what he's looking to do, because one of the projects we really wanted to do on the heritage trail was improve the basically the culverts or the crossings along the stormwater system. And instead of having them basically redesign those potentially into more of like a wooden bridge structure, similar to what was done down in the bird sanctuary.
Yeah.
So that might become a combination application since it both have to do with the trail network.
I think Kevin was talking about safety issues about children biking, and somehow he wanted a trail that would make it safer for them to go, that corresponded a little bit with the heritage trail going through that part of town.
Okay, so I got to sit down with them. I just feel like if they're both heritage trail related, we could potentially combine the two into one application. So playground equipment, master plans, housing production plan, the flagpole, acoustic study, the curtain, library, town hall, green lawn, cemetery, heritage trail coverage. Also, we've been helping and then lastly, we've been helping the Little League in, they are going to be coming to you under recreation for lighting at the field behind the school. So we've been helping them get prices with the context that we have through the streetlight conversion project that we went through. So I know that one will be coming to you too.
Okay.
How do the neighbors feel about that, Tony?
There's always been lighting there. I don't think that they've had many nighttime games in the recent years. It's actually kind of in a good spot if you're going to put lighting somewhere. And with the new LED stuff, it's so directive downward that it shouldn't have as much of like a negative impact to neighbors. But I think they're preparing for the years to come. You have, a huge wave of young children in the first grade, kindergarten age group coming up. So I think they're trying to prepare for some large numbers.
Okay.
Well, that's good to hear.
And they just, you authorized fence upgrades backstop and fence upgrades, and they completed that work, and it looks great.
Oh,
Yeah, they,
Thank
and
you.
they did a very nice, they contributed to that in terms of match as well, so. Good project.
So the only thing that I haven't put on here, you guys might remember my outdoor amphitheater from last year. I'm not gonna
Oh,
come,
I have a headache right now.
I'm not gonna put it, I'm not gonna apply for it this year, but it isn't lost. I'm not throwing it out.
Oh, Tony, is
One day,
one day, okay.
either that or a splash pad. Well, you guys gotta give me one of those two.
Well, what about an ice skating rink or, come on.
I know. So even they're building one across the street from my house in Beverly. And
Yeah.
there's no refrigeration. I'm interested to see how it goes, but it's just without refrigeration. Our weather patterns aren't consistent enough to
No.
keep the ice cold. So I'm interested to see how this goes and, if it's doable. I almost tried to make a case to buy one using COVID funds because it was one of the only like communities that were really significantly negatively impacted by COVID. I don't know if you remember, but all the hockey leagues
Right.
were shut down like both years in a row because it's the only indoor sports really organization, whatever, during the worst times of COVID. So we almost made a case to do one, but again, without the refrigeration, it's really tough thing to be successful with. So
Okay. All right, we'll let that go this year,
yeah, no
along with the
ice
pavilion.
and no pavilion and no splash at Flash, but one day, man.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. In terms of committee, do you have other questions or comments about what you've heard so far? Tony, can you just, it's great to hear tonight about the progress with the bidding for the library and so on. I know last time we talked about the other progress with projects like the basketball court. What about the big project with the tennis and basketball court at Flash Road? Is that almost?
So the last time I think I was on here, I lied to you all and said we're going to do a ribbon cutting like next week, and you'd all be invited. But the contractor, that very next week, the contractor said that the spec for the paint required like 4 days of 50-degree weather, and we were in the 40s. And he said, "I'll paint it if you guys want to waive the liability for it, or we'll come back in the spring." And I said, "All right, then just come back in the spring."
Yeah.
So was that for which? That was for the basketball courts, I guess.
Basketball and
Basketball
tennis at
Or
Flash.
both. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Austin already.
pickleball, right?
What?
And
There's pickleball.
pickleball.
Oh,
there's-
Nancy.
There's pickleball lines in the tennis court. Yes.
So when the time comes, I want Austin. I think he's our official ribbon cutter. He did the basketball. Court.
He
He's
has
right
a
there at
way
the
with
fire
scissors.
station. He's the ribbon cutter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm usually in the area. So.
Yeah. Well, okay, so that's all good. Let me see, Dave, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know that some of the work has been going along with the Housing Authority grants from last year. Any updates or anything that you can share with us about outstanding work?
Well, the only thing I could is continuous talking about the gray stone siding on the building. I guess I have to talk to you about it. Being a historical building,
Mhm.
of the shingles.
Yep.
And I guess that's the only thing that's, is in the, is holding up the project.
So maybe you and I and your wonderful administrator, whose name I'm forgetting right now,
Kelly?
just,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe we
Yeah.
need to actually stand at the building and look at it and talk about it, because
Yes.
probably the best thing. And Dave, you're still involved with the cemetery, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
so,
still there.
yeah,
Yeah,
well, I think that I'm concerned about the cemetery of the archway over, which people go through all the time, so. I think we may
that's my
have,
main concern. If the base is starting to rot, deteriorate and rot, the cement is falling out and
right,
the stones, it's gonna, start at the bottom all the way up. That's my major concern right now.
so I think that's kind of quite urgent to actually prioritize, because that falls into the wonderful world of life safety. Something falls down on somebody as they're passing through it. It's not good,
No, it's not.
not good. So,
It's getting worse every year, so.
yeah. Yeah. So I think that what we'd be looking for, Tony, is maybe having Richard and you take a look at that and actually, if we don't have the money right now because of the demands on the library, we're going to need to see another application for the Green Lawn Cemetery Arch.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I'm trying to get a quote from actually Jerry Raphael, who did the masonry work on the Ellingwood Chapel. An estimate, and I was getting an estimate from him anyways to reset the flat headstones,
Mhm.
which I was hoping to come to you for a grant for those costs, but I don't think that really qualifies as a CPC project.
Yeah, I think it would be a hard stretch to call that historic.
Well, yeah, I don't know. There's a preservation restriction on the entire property, but that doesn't really mean it's all historic.
Right.
What property is that, Tony? I missed how you introduced it.
Green Lawn
The
Cemetery.
cemetery.
Oh.
So
okay.
the headstones of the flat headstones
Oh,
need to be reset. They're all kind of sinking, and so I'm getting a quote for that job, and the circle when you drive in and there's the rotary in the back, only about a quarter of it was cobblestone. The rest is just loose stone.
Mhm.
So I'm getting a quote for that too, to finish the circle, to do a full circle of cobblestone. Because the stone, it just builds up water and it's impacting the curbing. And so I'm trying to get a quote for that anyways, so I can ask Jerry, if he can give me an estimate on the entrance.
Mhm. I think that would be good. He had a masonry subcontractor for the chapel that I can't remember the guy's name, but he was very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we obviously want to try and, we're going to probably go through the same process of trying to match the mortar, with the existing, and so.
Yeah. I'd be interested to know who the filed sub bidder was for the masonry for the library. So I'll be curious to know about that. Okay. Folks, we're perilously close to a 1-hour meeting. Isn't that exciting?
yeah. Don't let it slip away.
I know, grab it, hold on to it. Because it's going to be rare. It will not be happening after we get these grant applications. But I'd like to suggest that, you know, in terms of what we've learned tonight, that we've got some good information. We have applications due on the 28th. I don't know if we've heard of other potential grant applications from entities other than the town hall. But I suspect that we'll be seeing a couple more coming in.
You will see one from the Historical Society.
That was your invitation, Liz.
I thought so. Yeah, it's all written up. I just had I asked a couple of our board members to just go through it and verify that I've got all the information correct, and then it'll be off to you this week, I hope.
Great.
Right. Oh my gosh, you could be like the first one in the door.
Hey,
Hey, that'd be good. That'd be
Can
good.
I ask Lynn and Ellen whether we have a protocol for once proposals are formally submitted, for letting us know that we can access them and how we go about doing that?
Good point.
Isn't Kristen managing the online receipts?
Yep, she is. So
Okay.
I would
Here,
think.
I'm
that-
sorry, go ahead, Lynn. I asked a question. I should listen to the answer. shouldn't I?
That's right. I would think it would make sense for
Yeah.
Kristen to put together a Dropbox of the applications that have come in and distribute them that way. If we can do it electronically, you know, and
Yeah.
everyone had said they could do it except Ellen Steves, and I said that I would deliver a paper.
Yeah, I
Binder
remember you
to
said
her.
that. Yeah.
Dave, can you handle things electronically?
Yes, I can.
Great. Oh, this is a good time for me to say that we might have another committee member joining us. And gosh, Tony, do you want to just say a word about that?
But actually, Lynn, before you move on to that, can we just finalize Paul's question and answer and figure out if there's any next steps?
Well, as I said, Kristen would be putting together a Dropbox link and sending it out to everyone. I
Does
will
she-
get,
Does she know that?
Yes,
Have
she
we confirmed
does.
this? Okay, okay.
and she's doing all the admin for us. So that was what we had talked about. We had talked about that in previous meetings. And the only person who, at that point, who didn't have the ability to do it online, you know, electronically was Ellen. That's why I was going to give her a paper copy.
Gotcha. I might have missed that meeting if it was October.
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so good. Okay, so Tony, news?
So I reached out to Jim Dolan Jr. I believe he is a junior, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
And asked him if he'd be interested in joining the committee. He said absolutely. So I have to get him into the clerk to be sworn in and get him his appointment letter. And I guess what I'll do is I'll have him I'll connect him with you, Lynn, so that maybe you can spend some time on the phone with him and brief him a little bit about the process and expectations and, you know, that sort of thing. And hopefully he's on your next meeting.
That'd be
Did I
great.
get that name correct? Jim Dolan, Dolan?
Yep.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay.
And this was part of our commitment to try to get the median age of our committee down a few years.
Does he have an institutional connection? Or is he an at-large?
He's at large.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So let me ask if there's any new business. Let me ask if there's a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second,
I seconded
second.
Nancy.
okay,
Who was that, Nancy?
Yes.
all right. All in favor? Do we have to do
Aye.
a roll call vote? But can't we just go aye?
Yes, we can go aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, well, it's going to get a little bit more formal as of when we begin our next round of meetings, which I think, Paul, can you just tell us when the next meeting is?
Yeah, I think, just a minute, I'll tell you in just a moment. Hold on.
I doubt you guys will be called out for not doing a roll call vote on an adjournment.
Oh, okay.
But
thanks.
when you do, in the future, I believe the open meeting law that allows us to be remote does require it in the future when you guys make votes on actual business.
We dutifully did when we actually were dealing with the minutes earlier, Tony. You missed
Yeah,
it.
I know.
You missed it.
Like I said, I doubt you'll be called out for. an
Okay.
adjournment vote.
The
All right, I
next
promise I
meeting
won't
is January 31st.
Thank you. And then we are, I think, February 7th
7th, 21, and March 7th.
and March 7th. Oh, yes. Well, we did have to discuss is whether we want to continue doing this way or whether we want to revert to the fall format of getting together in town hall and zooming it from there.
Tony, do we have directives that have come in about COVID and protection? I know you were doing something earlier today.
We now require masks indoors in all public spaces, so you would have to wear a mask.
Mhm.
But there are no limitations on numbers or,
Okay.
for a space. So you guys could do your meetings. You could utilize the hybrid option of in-person and Zoom in those conference rooms.
Okay. Can I have a sense of the committee? I know that we're officially adjourned, but can I have the sense of the committee as they think about whether they want to participate exclusively by Zoom versus the hybrid model?
I won't hesitate to say that at least for the next meeting, I would like to do it this way, Zoom only.
Others?
I think we should reserve the hybrid format so that people, maybe elderly people who don't feel like either they could come out or they feel safe would want to join us. I mean, visitors and stuff. But I also don't know, we just don't know how going forward, these things are going to play out with the variants, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd like to keep the option.
Anyone violently against the hybrid?
No, I'm not.
All right, well, let's plan on the 31st as being by Zoom, and then we'll have a further discussion about hybrid for the future meetings. I mean, and this is not official, this is just a sense of the group.
Okie dokie.
Okay, all right, well, thank you all. Thanks, Tony, for joining in. Good to see
Yep.
you all.
Good to see you all.
Okay, good night, everybody.
Bye-bye
Ready?
now.
Good night.
Good night.